Hello!
Hello!
Welcome back to another episode of the Tidalwave Afterwork Podcast. My name is Marc Maurer and this is Damiani, and
Hello.
we answer questions that you send us. Let's go, I guess?
Let's go.
Okay, cool.
Give me a question.
Okay, I'll give you a question. Let's see. First question is from Dean Lewis.
Hello, Dean.
What's up? Dean is asking, when you're mixing an album, do you ever use the first song you're mixing as a template for the rest of the songs? And if so, which would be the elements that you would copy from one song to another? Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, indeed, I do. If an album is recorded in a coherent way, and if the aesthetics is overall the same of the album, I definitely do that. A method that has worked very well for me over the years is that I use the first mix to establish the aesthetics and the mood and the color of the sound we are going after. So I also need to get approval from the client or from the artist if he likes whatever I was doing. So I start with one song which is representative for the whole album, then I send it out for feedback, and then sometimes we tweak a little bit, go a little bit back and forth, and then I know in which direction the album is going. And and then I delete all the audio from the session, save a copy as a mix template, and then usually I open up the second song and I import the tracks from this template session that I think I may need. So if the drums have the same treatment, I import all the tracks and take this as a starting point, as well as all the effect sends, maybe the vocal treatment. Sometimes I save track presets, what you can do in Pro Tools. So you just save the whole plugin chain or whatever and take this as a basic. Why start all over again if you can take advantage of the work you already did before? You do the same, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's all about efficiency.
It is, yeah.
It is. So,
Yeah.
yes, if it makes sense, absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Good one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dean.
Okay. Andy Barron. Hi, Andy.
Hey, what's up?
Is asking, is it okay to mute or edit tracks while mixing?
That sounds like a rule book question. Like, is it okay? Am I allowed to?
Am I? Are you?
It's a...
Is Andy?
For me, it's an it depends question.
There we go again.
Yeah. Okay.
Hope that helps.
I would say maybe like in a rule book sense, and if you're maybe starting out, I would probably suggest to edit first, then mix, and try not to like mix the process. But then on the other hand, the reality of working in this job for me is that I do it all the time. It just happens. Like while I'm mixing, the reality is that all the time I'm muting stuff. I might be mixing whatever the snare, and then I hear something in the bass, so I solo the bass because I do have to do an edit because it annoys me that it doesn't match the kick drum. So you just hear stuff all the time, all over the place. So yeah, for me, like I would like to say that no, it's all by an order, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
I do everything all the time at once.
Make a good point that you should try to separate the editing part from the mixing part, because the one is like tedious handwork and the other one is like a creative flow process, and having to go back and edit stuff can interrupt the creative flow of a mix. But as I said, sometimes you just need to do stuff. Well, I usually also like to start with checking tracks, and then like if I hear something that obviously needs to be done, I do it right away.
Yes.
Mute stuff. Or I first try to incorporate everything because the artist had something in mind while doing it.
Yes.
So I try, but when I feel that things are clashing, like two melodies playing in the same octave, asking for the same kind of attention, then one has to leave. So sometimes it's just needed, and clean up mixes is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like cleaning up your room. Do you clean up your room? Should you clean up your room? Should you throw away stuff?
Well, it depends. No, it doesn't.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks for the great
thanks.
question.
All right. Next question comes from somebody who is not called Jelly_92. If that's your first and last name, congratulations. That's awesome. The question is, how has your perception of sound changed over time as your mixing experience has grown? Are there specific elements you used to overlook that you now prioritize?
One aspect of the question could be, what have we been obsessed with when we started that we are not obsessed now because it doesn't matter as much? Maybe this
the
way
inverse of
around
that.
is a more insightful way of thinking about it, because
Good point.
nowadays maybe I tend to solo less individual instruments as I was before. And I like kick, okay, now let's work on kick, and I like working 2 hours on a kick that on itself has nothing to tell you about how it will sound in the mix. And obviously it just sucked in the mix because maybe it was nice, or maybe it wasn't even nice on its own, and it sucked even more in the mix. So maybe, it's maybe the other way around, that the older and grayer we get, the more we learn to take a step back and look at the bigger picture instead of being obsessed with details that nobody cares about.
Yeah, I was thinking about, in my case, probably stuff like just processing or effects, reverbs in the beginning. And now it leans more towards just like general EQ and balance. Like many years ago, I would sit there and try out every reverb on the snare. And now a lot of times there's no reverb on the snare, you know, like, but the level of the snare is important. Like that could be something for me, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, just maybe start from a bigger picture and only zoom in if it's really necessary. Could be the takeaway of this obsession about things.
That sums it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Was that even the answer to the question?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, hey. Okie dokie. Akokotu Prince has been asking, how important is room treatment really, and do those foam panels work well? The good old black 2 centimeter thick foam panels.
Yeah, I still have some of those.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from days where...
You thought that they were useful.
yeah. And I'm thinking of like old rehearsal spaces where just like randomly those things would like be somewhere, and
carpet everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the difference. If it's a rehearsal space and it's just like very reverberant and you're not recording, then anything of any like foam or cloth can maybe help a little bit for a practice experience.
Yeah, and anything is better than nothing at all. But how important is room treatment really?
I would say in the mixing space, it's important if you can't reproduce the way you're mixing, because it's just like random, because you're like, you get too much information from the sound bouncing around in your room, and you can't really like make something out of it.
And every time you mix a song that's in E flat, you don't hear the fundamental note because it's just cancelled out the room. But songs in F sharp work fine.
Yeah. Like that's a problem. Like, but as long as you can hear enough and you know what you're listening to, I think.
But do you really know what you're listening to if you are in an untreated control room? I would go crazy personally.
If it's an unfamiliar room, for me it's like the same thing as with speakers or headphones. I think I said this one time before in an episode, that my room is not really like well treated, but I know it inside out. So probably everybody else would go crazy in there. But it's like with headphones. If I use somebody else's headphones, I would go crazy as well, because I would have to readjust. So totally. I think knowing what you're listening to is more important than what it actually is you're listening to. You just have to know it. I think you can mix on cheap earbuds if you know them. You can mix on a lot of things if you know it. Because I mix
your stuff works.
I mean, would it be better to have a treated room? Absolutely, but I think there's just too many examples of people putting out like phenomenal stuff that are mixed on earbuds in crappy rooms or whatever.
I think maybe my obsession to be in control over stuff lets me say that room acoustics are very important. It's number one. And then just to come to those panel foamy things, those are terrible. There is simple math or physics behind it. It says that you need a quarter of the wavelength of a sound in thickness of an absorbent material. So to effectively absorb that frequency. So that means to absorb like a bass frequency in a room, you would need like this amount of foam.
Yeah.
which means that this amount of foam only takes off the high end, so it sounds as if you would have like fur on your ears.
Yeah.
And the resonance is still there. So foam panels, they just suck. And you should look for better room treatment if you need room treatment. And I think you do need room treatment. I think we agree to not completely agree on this topic.
Yeah, maybe we do.
I'm so used to having a good treated environment to work with that I would probably be lost in a not so good environment. Maybe I will have to try it out to work somewhere else to...
I mean, I don't even know if we are really disagreeing, because what you're basically saying is you are used to your room. The only thing I'm saying is if you would be in another room now that is treated, but it's not your room, it would also sound a little bit unfamiliar to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I need my speakers because I'm used to
Yeah.
them. I need my environment to feel safe. It's like you use... If you are a race driver and you are trained on your car, you will perform in a different way than if you have to sit on a bike suddenly that you don't know at all. So although you know what you're doing, you will be somewhat lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we take from all this? It is important, and you can do a lot with DIY without spending an enormous amount of money, but stay away from those foam panels. You're better off building some serious absorbers with some rock wool stuff or something.
Yeah, or you have like a fat mattress or something. Like
Yeah,
even
anything is
that
better
if you
than-
don't have any budget, or then
You need
that's still-
thickness. You need thickness and distance from the wall, and those foam panels give you neither nor.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, if you like our podcast and this channel, consider subscribing if you haven't yet. And also, leave a comment and ask a question so we can cover one of your questions in a future video. And last but not least, go tell a friend about it. Thanks. Alrighty, another question from Clemens Binder.
Hey, Clemens.
Hey. Clemens wants to know, with all the information on the internet about music production, especially on YouTube, what are some of the topics that annoy or bother you that pop up all the time?
Chord progressions. Bro, this is fire. If you can't play any chords, just buy chord progressions and you just put them in and it's magic. Bro, that shit's fire.
Yes. Yes.
This annoys me. Not because it's not maybe a good starting point for people who just want to create something and need some help, but I don't know why I'm really not interested in chord progressions. And I get ads for chord progressions all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chord progressions.
And tricks and secrets in general. Like
The magic vocal compression chain.
Yeah.
But chord progressions
I
is
think
probably number one.
Yeah.
But it's personal. Okay, I am annoyed by chord progressions. I know Marc likes to buy chord progression packs because, he just loves them.
my favorite.
Okay.
No, that's a good one. Just let's leave it with
Let's
that.
leave it with that.
Yeah.
Chord progressions.
Chord progression
So
packs.
go buy chord progression packs if you're serious about making music.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Kevin Schoren wants to know, how do I handle musicians that are annoying to work with? Oh.
You just do. You just handle them. No, let me think of something that is actually helpful. I think it's important to keep the end goal in mind, regardless of how annoying a person is, because at the end of the day, that's maybe a good example where you can compare our job to any other job. Basically, we have tasks and we need to finish them in a way where everybody's happy with the end result. And that's, if we break it down, that's the only thing that matters. That at the end of the day, you're meeting other person, you split up in the end, and everybody should be happy and satisfied. We get paid, we like the end result, the customer's happy. And if in that time frame in between something is annoying, I think all you can do is probably just like stay positive and guide people through the process. Try to, as with any relationship really, I think just focus on the positive. Try to direct everybody in the right direction and be like, hey, this might be some trouble or some like differences between whatever it is. But at the end of the day, we want to get there. Let's go there. Let's not be like sidetracked by emotion and by troublemaking people. It's tough to really, I think, like nail the answer to this question. But I think it's just like, it's a bit just like common sense. Look at a thing from like a holistic view and be like, hey, like all this shit aside, like what's going on here? Let's fix this. Let's bring this in the right direction and keep moving, and that's it.
Our job has a lot to do with psychology.
Totally.
There is a ton of psychology involved, and this is maybe one thing that people who want to start out with this kind of business, especially if you are not only mixing on your own, but you are working as a tracking engineer, that you need to know that you should be okay with dealing with people all the time and dealing with also sometimes annoying people or big egos or like very sensitive artists. You just need to love doing this and have a good hand for it. Otherwise, maybe you better only do like mixing or mastering. I have had bands that wanted to split up in the studio. So you really need to, identify problems, try to be a problem solver, and I love doing this. It's challenging. It's not that I want those situations, but if they occur, then I take them as a little psychology challenge and find joy in fixing things back together. Or if someone is not satisfied or is not happy for whatever reason, just trying to find out what actually is it that he or she needs in this situation. Why is he not feeling comfortable or something? And it's very satisfying to find out what it actually is. And sometimes it's just a tiny little thing, just a little bit attention or a little bit encouragement or something, and suddenly the whole situation can change. So sometimes annoying persons or people who seem annoying to you at first can completely switch. I've seen this many times that at first it was like, there is not a lot of sympathy, just to have turned this around completely by the end of a session, or also in free time, just people you randomly meet that you find out, and then later you can say, you know what, when we first met, I didn't like you at all that much. And now somehow we are friends. This is something you are never stuck into the head of other people, and it's interesting to try and see things from other people's view and try to just find out what they need and just give it to them, and everything can be cool. Sometimes also it doesn't work. Some people are just annoying and they want to be annoying.
But I get what you're saying. Like a lot of times I was just thinking, I like the analogy of just thinking about people in general as like little children, and oftentimes it's just the communication that is lacking. Like sometimes somebody seems like so like butthurt and aggressive and but isn't really telling you what the problem is. But he wants a cookie. It's like a little child that's like, but it's just hungry, or it's tired, or
hangry.
It's whatever. And as soon as you're like, hey, are you maybe hungry? It's like, yes. And then you're like, oh, everything's fine.
Take a cookie and a glass of milk and all is good.
Yeah.
So if you have annoying people in the studio, just have cookies and milk and all is fine.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It was a pleasure.
See you next
week. Bye-bye.
Bye.